You are now listening to the Pelicans post-game report. Flash report.
There's some situations where there's some franchises that maybe could move to a different city and be more successful. And that's the other piece of this, like specifically New Orleans. And I don't mean to start panic on New Orleans basketball. I'm also not sure there's enough of a fan base in place to even care that much. But that lease at the Smoothie King lease expires, I think, in 2029. This is an experiment that has not worked for 50 plus years in New Orleans with professional basketball. And if you and I owned a team and they asked us what we thought, and I'm like, well, we definitely have enough players to go to 32 teams. That doesn't mean we should. We're making so much money from the media rights. I'm not even sure what you could give me back that would make it worth it. There's a couple cities that could potentially, a team I think could thrive. I think Seattle, we've been saying that since before you and I worked together. Vegas is definitely interesting. And Mexico City is the other one they're all excited about, right? So you have those three. You also have Nashville, which I think some of the other leagues jumped into and grabbed that market before the NBA did. But I look at a situation like New Orleans. I don't know what that team is worth in its current state. I don't know what it's worth with it, like playing in the Smoothie King, playing in a market that clearly has not responded to basketball in the same way these other markets. And it's like if somebody bought them and just moved them to Seattle and paid everybody relocation fees, and then you didn't have to split your media rights. That seems like where this is headed. And I think I'm just going to say it. I think there's some buzz starting that way, that this New Orleans thing maybe is the situation. Is there any other franchise that you would think could potentially be a relocation threat, or is that the only one?
All things Pelicans, you're now listening to the Pelican post-game report. That was commentary by Simmons, reporter, about the Pelicans. Now, first and foremost, ESPN, ABC, a guy put out a tweet about this, has the Pelicans listed as top 3 in terms of the highest rated local markets going back some years. But the reality of the situation was, anytime idiots like this start bumping their gums about relocation, they automatically look at the New Orleans market. Number one, the NBA literally loves the New Orleans market because of the climate. Everything is involved. The New Orleans market does support football. It can provoke and has supported basketball successfully. The reality is you have to put a product on the court that people will support. If it's a bad product, I don't care who they are, they're not going to support the shit. New Orleans basketball, 50-something years, whatever the hell this guy's talking about, if he's going back to the Jazz, you can't count that. That guy moved that team to Utah, and ultimately, they didn't have the correct setup for them down here originally. The Pelicans are situated well. The ownership is well. The ownership problem with the ownership is, with the Pelicans, is they finally started making the correct moves to make the team decent. In terms of what Simmons is talking about, and all this shared revenue stuff, the NBA is making more money than it ever has before. It had incorporated the gambling and all this other stuff into it. They're not factoring all that. They're talking about splitting revenue and all this kind of old bullshit. These people are making more money. Don't let these idiots on this side fool y'all about what the NBA is doing. They're making a shitload of money. They got other leagues that's going that are not valuable. They got stakes in other leagues across across the ocean that they're involved in, with the NBA Africa and all these universities where they have dorms set up where they help African players develop into these, and it's all this Europe stuff going on. They got their paws in all of that stuff. The NBA is not situated just to over here in America. They got stuff everywhere. They beta test these games in these foreign markets and potentially adding teams there. Maybe not a part of the NBA, perhaps another league they might be coming up with. But in the end, what I'm saying is, the league is making a lot of money. The viability of the New Orleans Pelicans in this market is good. They call it a small market team. We've seen small market teams recently, like OKC and Milwaukee, win a championship when they are built correctly. That's the whole sticking point. I think this is a bad take by Bill Simmons. He don't know what the fuck he talking about. He don't know the stats dealing with the team. He don't even know how much the team's worth. How you sitting up here getting on these podcasts talking about it, and all of this is you drawing from your backside. So once again, so often we always have to bat down idiots that don't know what they talking about. They're just throwing stuff out there and talking about moving the team to Seattle to avoid extra costs on this, that, and the third. Listen, Seattle is already on the slick side. It's the NBA's worst kept secret that Las Vegas and Seattle have already been granted franchises. So that's already going to happen. We already know Las Vegas got the situation set up for it. Seattle would have had a team if they wasn't bickering with the ownership about getting their stadium together for the team. That could have been something that's done, but it took them a while. The team lost. They held on to the name, and they'll be eventually, over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have an NBA franchise in Seattle and Las Vegas, and there'll be some reshuffling of the NBA divisions. Now, outside of that, that's my take on it. I think it's a bad take by Simmons. He says he didn't want to create a panic. He really didn't create a panic. You just pissed people off. When you threw the Pelicans in the relocation, talk about somebody else's team that's not doing good. You know what I'm saying? Talk about somebody else's squad. I'm pretty sure there are other teams that have been doing worse than the Pelicans. Go and talk to them. Talk about them. Talk about how they're not winning and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And some of them are in big markets and they're not winning any games. Their numbers are super low. But it's always New Orleans. Go to New Orleans, take their team, relocate their team somewhere else. It's always these idiots and these chumps and these morons that come up with this stuff. And it's baseless, right? So anyway, this is all predicated on the Pelicans' decision-making ability. If the Pelicans are serious about winning, fix your medical staff and put people in there that know what they're doing, and so that cuts time on players being hurt. That's the bottom line. If you do that and attack that aspect, and mind you, that is not an aspect that they invested enough money in. And that is something that continuously impacts them more than any other team. So I don't understand why they don't see that. I don't understand why they don't see it unless they sign agreements with these people and they're making money off the agreements that they sign with Ashna as the sports side of it, as opposed to focusing on the partnership being bad because the players that's taking advantage of the medical stat of the Ashna athletic side of the medical situation is not working out because all the players are getting hurt. Majority of the players dealing with soft tissue injuries, all this kind of stuff. That's what you focus on, Joe Dumars. That's what you focus on, Troy Weaver. If you want sustained success here, because that is the number one issue the team faces, is the injury issue. That could be severely reduced if you focus on getting the correct medical staff and the technology down here. I keep saying it over and over again. That is the last thing you need to focus on. I mean, the first thing out of all these other things, shuffling this guy, sending this guy here, trading this guy, all this kind of stuff. Fix your health staff, man. Fix it. Look at it and see that you need better doctors, better personnel, better dietitians, better nutritionists. You need better. Go and invest in the best people, because we know there's levels to this. Anyway, that's what I got. You guys put in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this report of Simmons talking about relocating the Pelicans and all this kind of stuff. I kind of threw the injury stuff in there because it plays a part of why attendance is down, because of what management is not seeing. The ownership does not see. There's no vision for this stuff. Now, with Joe Dumars down here, perhaps he can finally see what those people don't have the intelligence to see, is you have to have healthy players to win. And players getting hurt all the time the Pelicans been dealing with is not an excuse anymore, because you've been using it for over 5 years now. Fix your staff, your medical staff. Anyway, y'all put in the comment section. Let me know about Simmons' take. What do you think about that? Also, what you think about the health situation and why the Pelicans aren't thriving or being successful like some of these other small market teams. Put it in the comment section below. I'm Big Q. I'm going to holler at you on the next PPR, man. Much love to y'all. Peace.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.